Eli Grant stood in the middle of the command chamber, his hands behind his back, trying not to sweat. Alien eyes watched him from every corner of the massive room. Cold silver walls, glowing with soft blue light, reflected his nervous face. He had never felt so out of place in his life. The doors opened with a smooth hiss. Everyone fell silent. She walked in, tall, elegant, and dangerous, Commander Veltrana Threx, leader of the Zarnath fleet. Her skin was a deep violet, like the night sky, and her eyes were sharp like blades. Eli expected shouting, orders, maybe even a direct insult. After all, humans were not respected here. They were seen as weak, emotional, and too young to be taken seriously. But instead, Veltrana walked past him, her eyes landing on his face for only a second. That second felt like a storm. Her gaze was cold. Yes, but also something else. She paused, just for a moment, then turned her head and continued walking. Not a word, not a nod, not even a scowl. Just silence. Eli's mind raced. Why didn't she say anything? Was he too unimportant to even yell at? Or was there something behind that one look? His orders were simple: observe, report, and keep his head down. But nothing on Earth had prepared him for this ship. The Zarnath vessel, Kareth's Edge, was like a city floating in space, silent, perfect, full of rules that no one explained to him. He walked the halls alone. The crew members looked at him like he didn't belong, like he was a mistake. No one spoke to him. They just stared with quiet judgment. But something strange happened during the first week. He made a mistake during training, pressed the wrong sequence on a control panel. The alien officer beside him growled and reached to report him, but then stopped, looking toward the command platform. Veltrana was watching, her gaze sharp, unblinking. The officer backed off without saying a word. Eli expected punishment, but it never came. It wasn't the last time either. More than once, he found himself in situations that should have gotten him kicked off the ship, but each time, someone seemed to stop just before acting. Because she was watching. Why was the commander watching him? He had never spoken to her directly. She never gave him tasks or commands, or even recognition, and yet she seemed to be protecting him from the shadows. Late at night, Eli sat in his room, staring at the glowing ceiling. He couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her face, that cold, perfect mask she wore. Why did she keep looking at him that way? Why did she spare him when she never hesitated with anyone else? He tried to ask others, but no one gave answers. They just gave him strange looks and quickly changed the subject. One alien technician whispered, "You must remind her of something," then walked away like he had said too much. Remind her of what? Who? Eli had never met her before. She had no reason to care, unless she was hiding something. The mystery wrapped around his mind like a fog. Every move she made, every glance she gave it, felt like it had meaning, a secret only she knew. One day, during a routine scan of incoming cargo ships, the siren suddenly rang. A pirate vessel had breached Zarnath territory. Everyone rushed to their stations. Eli stood frozen until someone barked at him to move. He ran to the tactical deck, just in time to see Veltrana give sharp, perfect orders. She stood tall, calm, untouchable, and then without warning, she turned her head toward him for a full 3 seconds. Their eyes locked again. No words, but something passed between them, and then she looked away and gave the final order. The pirate ship was destroyed. The room cheered, but Eli wasn't cheering. He was still thinking about that moment, that look. What was she trying to say without words? Why did her gaze feel familiar, almost human, almost sad? He wasn't sure, but he was going to find out, no matter how dangerous it was, no matter how cold she seemed. Commander Veltrana Threx had a secret, and somehow Eli was right in the middle of it. Eli stood near the outer edge of the hangar, watching the alien soldiers move like machines, sharp, silent, and perfect. He had been stationed here for weeks, yet he still felt like an outsider. The looks hadn't stopped, and neither had the silence, but something had changed. And it started with one sentence. Only the human will accompany me." Her voice was calm, cold, and final. The entire command center froze. No one expected it, not even Eli. He blinked, thinking he had misheard. But then Voltrana turned her head slightly, her silver eyes locking onto him. "Now," she added and walked away. Whispers filled the room as Eli followed her in silence. Alien officers murmured, "Why him?" "And she's lost her mind." But no one dared question her to her face. Voltrana's authority was law on this ship. They took a small cruiser, sleek and quiet, just the two of them. No escort, no backup, no explanation. Eli strapped himself into the passenger seat, still unsure if this was a test or a trap. She didn't speak for most of the flight. The silence between them felt thick, like space itself was listening. Finally he asked, "Why me, Commander?" She didn't turn her head, just stared at the stars through the window. "Because I chose you," she replied simply. Then silence again. The destination was a broken outpost on the edge of Zarnath territory, a place destroyed years ago during one of the early skirmishes between humans and aliens. Eli didn't know why they were here, and Voltrana didn't tell him. She moved through the wreckage like she had been there before. Her steps were slow, almost careful, as if each piece of debris carried a memory. Eli followed close, eyes scanning the dark corners. The place was quiet, too quiet. Then, from behind a crumbled wall, movement, shadows rushed forward, armed and fast. Voltrana didn't hesitate. She spun, fired her plasma rifle, and shouted, "Stay low." Eli ducked, returned fire, and helped drive the attackers back. But one managed to flank him. And just as it raised its blade, Voltrana was there. She tackled the creature, slammed it into the ground, and snapped its arm like paper. She didn't even look at Eli, just said, "Focus." They fought together, back to back until the last enemy fell. When the dust settled, Voltrana stood still, breathing slow. Eli looked at her, confused and amazed. "You saved me," he said. She gave him a sharp glance. "You were in my way." But Eli caught the corner of her mouth twitch. Not quite a smile, not quite a lie that night. They made a small fire using old tech scrap. The stars above were wide and endless. Voltrana sat on a broken metal slab, arms folded, staring at the flames. She seemed far away, like part of her mind had left the world. Eli sat across from her, silent for a while, then asked, "You've been here before, haven't you?" Her eyes didn't move, but her voice dropped low. "Yes." "Was it during the war?" She nodded, slow and heavy. "Someone important to you?" Another pause, then a simple, "Yes." Eli didn't push further, but he noticed how her fingers curled tight around a small stone she picked up from the ground. She looked at it like it hurt, like it bled. The fire crackled softly between them, and for a moment, it wasn't commander and soldier. It was just two souls under the stars, both carrying too much silence. Voltrana finally said, "You fight well, for someone who's supposed to be weak. Thanks." "I guess," Eli replied, with a small smile. She didn't smile back, but her voice lost its edge. "Most humans would have run. I've done that before." He admitted, didn't like it. She stared at him again, longer this time. There was something in her eyes, recognition, regret, maybe both. Then she looked away, and the cold mask returned. "Get some rest, Grant," she said. "We leave at first light." Eli lay down on the hard metal floor, watching her from the corner of his eye. She didn't sleep, didn't even blink for a long time, just sat there, still and unreadable, like a statue. But when she thought he was asleep, she whispered something under her breath, too soft for him to hear, but her voice trembled ever so slightly. Whatever she was hiding, it was breaking through the cracks, and Eli could feel it. He was part of it now, even if he didn't know why yet. He was told never to enter that room. No one said why, no warning signs, no guards posted. But something about the smooth black door kept pulling him in. It was shaped differently from the others, more curved, more silent, and when it finally slid open by itself, Joel didn't hesitate. He stepped inside slowly, his boots echoing in the round chamber. The lights were dim, soft, and almost alive. Strange symbols moved across the walls like they were breathing. In the center of the room stood a floating cube, humming low. It glowed with faint blue light and pulsed like a heartbeat. Joel didn't touch it at first, he just stared. The cube turned slowly on its own, scanning him. Then it opened, revealing a small device, one he recognized from Earth history. It was a compass, old, rusty, and broken. He reached out with trembling fingers, and the moment he touched it, the room changed. The walls lit up with moving images. Human soldiers, alien diplomats, explosions, children laughing. He watched as the images swirled around him, forming a timeline he couldn't follow, but every scene had one thing in common: someone who looked just like him. He stepped closer, and the images zoomed in. A man in a pilot suit, standing beside a younger Veltrana. Another, fighting in a trench with alien warriors, bleeding but still fighting. A third, shaking hands with what looked like a council of alien leaders. They all looked different, but they all had his eyes. Who are they? Joel whispered. The room responded not with sound, but with a rush of air that pulled at his breath. Words appeared in front of him, glowing, shifting, chosen echoes through time, fragments of trust, born again where peace must rise. He blinked, trying to understand, but the words faded before he could memorize them. The cube closed again, and everything went dark. Then, from behind him, footsteps soft but heavy. He turned quickly, and she was there. Veltrana stepped into the room like she had been watching the whole time. Her helmet was off again, and her silver eyes were unreadable. "You opened the archive," she said, not asking, but confirming. "I didn't mean to," Joel replied, but even he didn't believe it. She stepped closer, her gaze locked on his face. "Only two have ever been allowed to enter this room." "Let me guess," he said. "The first was the man in those images." She nodded, slow and solemn. "He was my brother." That silence between them grew heavy again. Joel didn't know what to say. "Not at first. You loved him," he finally whispered. "I still do," she answered, voice soft like broken glass. "He died trying to stop the war." Joel felt something cold settle in his chest. "How?" he asked. "He chose the humans," she said, "and my own people killed him for it." She turned away now, not to hide her face, but to hide the pain in her voice. Joel stared at the cube, then at her. "Why bring me here?" "Because you're the same," she said. "You carry the same light." Joel didn't know what that meant, but he felt something deep in his chest. A pull, a connection, like fate had been whispering in his ears this whole time. She reached into her armor and pulled out a necklace, a metal charm shaped like the same compass he held earlier. She placed it in his palm, closing his fingers gently. "Promise me," she said, "when the time comes, you won't turn away like the others." "I don't even know what I'm meant to do," he said, voice shaking. "You will," she whispered. "The galaxy is watching, even if your people are not." The room grew colder then, as if the ship itself knew what had been shared. Veltrana stepped away, helmet in hand. "Rest now," she said. "You'll need strength for what's next." As she left, the door sealed behind her, but the cube lit up once more, this time showing only one image. Joel, standing on a mountain, stars above him, Veltrana beside him, and behind them, the two armies waiting in silence. Joel stared at the vision, unsure if it was a future, a warning, or both. All he knew was this: he had been chosen, not by accident, but by design, and the one person he feared the most was now the only one he trusted. Outside the chamber, the ship rumbled slightly. Something was coming. Something that would test every part of him. But Joel didn't feel alone anymore. Not with her watching. Not with her past now tied to his own. The alarms didn't sound. That's what made it worse. No sirens, no flashing lights, no orders. Just a quiet shift in the air that made Joel's skin crawl. Something had changed. And the silence was louder than any explosion. He was on the lower deck, walking back from the training hall. It was empty, which was strange, because the Zilari never left things unguarded. As he turned the corner, he stopped. A panel on the wall flickered with a symbol he hadn't seen before, two intersecting rings glowing red. Then his communicator buzzed, and her voice came through, calm but sharp. "Bridge, now." He ran without asking why. When he arrived, the crew stood frozen, and Veltrana stood at the center, helmet off, her face pale. She didn't look at him. Just pointed at the main screen. It showed a ship-human design, but wrong somehow, dark, twisted metal. "And no signal. It's one of ours," Joel whispered. "But not right. It was lost during the second conflict," Veltrana said. 32 souls aboard. Rescue mission?" he asked. "No," she answered. "It's a tomb." Before he could ask more, the ship jolted slightly. Something had docked. Veltrana looked at the officer beside her. "Seal the doors." "No one enters or leaves this level." Joel stepped forward. "What's going on?" She finally turned to him, and for the first time, he saw fear in her eyes. "You need to see something." They moved quickly through a maintenance corridor, deeper into the ship than he had ever been. She stopped at a sealed storage room, opened it, and motioned him inside. The lights flickered, and a frozen body lay inside a clear pod. Human, male. With a badge that read, Captain Elias Carter, Joel stumbled back, his breath caught in his throat. "That's my father," he said, voice breaking. Veltrana stepped beside him, silent. "He was captured before the war ended," she said softly. "No record survived. We thought he was dead." Joel pressed a hand to the glass. Eyes wide. "He was alive," he said. "You kept him here." "Not me," she replied. "My people." She looked away, ashamed. "I fought to protect him, but he died before I could." Joel's hands curled into fists. "You should have told me." "I couldn't," she said. "You weren't ready." He wanted to shout, to scream, but something inside stopped him. Instead, he looked down at his father's still face. He saw no pain, only peace. "I always thought he abandoned us," Joel whispered. "No," Veltrana said. "He saved us." They stood in silence for a long time. Then she spoke again, but her voice was colder now. "The ship that arrived carries more than wreckage. It carries something that escaped." Joel turned, confused. "Escaped from what?" "From death," she said. "From time itself. I don't understand. You don't need to." "Not yet," she replied. "But you will very soon." They returned to the bridge, and now the crew looked shaken. "Prepare for contact," Veltrana ordered, but before anyone could move, the lights went dark. Every screen shut down, every door locked. Then came the sound slow, metal dragging against metal. A shape appeared on the main screen, barely visible. It was tall, humanoid, but wrong. Its eyes glowed with the same color as the cube Joel had seen in the hidden room. Veltrana whispered something in her language, then said aloud, "It followed us." Joel stepped closer to the screen, his heart thudding hard. "What is it?" "A shadow of the past," she said. "Something born during the First War, when we tampered with things we didn't understand." "It knows me," Joel said suddenly. He didn't know how, but he could feel it like a memory not his own. It stared through the glass as if waiting for him to speak. Veltrana pulled him away. "We're leaving this sector," she said, "now. But that thing, we can't fight it, not yet." As the ship turned, the lights returned, and the pressure eased. Joel sat in his room that night, unable to sleep. He stared at his father's compass, now glowing faintly on his desk. It pulsed in time with the beating of his heart. Then a message appeared on his wall screen, just 2 words. "It remembers." Joel read it again and again, and deep down, he knew the past wasn't finished with him, and neither was she. The message didn't disappear. It stayed on the wall all night, like it was waiting for him to reply. But Joel didn't move, didn't blink for a long time. He just sat there, watching the words. "It remembers." He didn't know what it meant. But deep down, something inside him did, something that had been quiet until now. Something old. The next morning, the ship was tense. No one spoke in the halls. and even the usual soft hum of energy felt muted. Veltrana didn't call him to the bridge. Instead, she sent 2 guards to escort him to a lower level he hadn't seen before. They didn't speak either, but one of them glanced at him with something that looked like fear when they arrived. The door opened to a small chamber, clean and bare. She stood inside alone. Without her armor, without her weapons. For the first time she looked tired. "You should sit," she said, her voice softer than usual. Joel obeyed. Unsure why the air felt so heavy, she paced slowly, her hands behind her back, eyes lowered. "I've hidden something from you," she said. He didn't reply. Just waited, his heart already bracing itself. "Before you came," she continued, "we intercepted a signal from Earth." His eyes widened. "A distress signal," she added. "Not from your government, but from a group we thought no longer existed." He leaned forward. "Who?" She turned her gaze to him. "The project that made your father disappear." The words felt like ice in his stomach. He remembered the files, the pod, the clone-like being they had called Weapon. "They're still active?" He whispered. "They never stopped," Veltrana said. "And now they want you." A screen rose from the floor between them, showing an old human outpost on a barren moon. The image zoomed in metal towers, broken walls, and then a person. She was tied to a pole, weak, thin, barely conscious. Joel's mouth fell open. "That's my sister," Veltrana nodded once. "They took her 2 months ago," she said. "We only now learned where." Joel stood, fists shaking. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I knew what you would do," she answered. "You'd go, you'd try to save her, and they'd use her to trap you." He slammed his fist against the table. "Then let them try," he growled. Veltrana stepped closer, and for once, she looked afraid, not for herself, but for him. "You don't know what they're building," she said. "They're mixing alien and human DNA, trying to create something that cannot die. They believe you're the missing piece." Joel's voice dropped. "They'll kill her." "Yes," she said, "unless we move first." She handed him a black device, smooth and cold like stone. "This controls a drone," she said. "You'll go alone, but I'll be watching." He took the device, his breath steady but shallow. The mission felt too quiet, too fast, too unreal. But when the dropship launched an hour later, and he felt the rumble beneath his feet, the fear became real. The moon was as dead as it looked. He landed near a hill of broken steel, climbed through twisted metal, and reached the outpost wall. Everything was still, too still. Then he heard it, her voice, faint and broken, calling out, "Joel?" He ran, ignoring the trap, because love doesn't stop to think. He reached her, broke the restraints, held her close. She was barely conscious. "It's really you," she whispered. But before he could answer, the floor opened beneath them. He grabbed her and rolled away as a shadow rose from the center of the room. Not a machine, not a person, but something in between. Its body was made of shifting metal and skin that flickered like a flame. It had his face, but it smiled in a way he never had. "Welcome," it said. "I've waited a long time to meet myself." It moved like water, but sounded like metal. Every step it took echoed without weight, but the pressure in the air got heavier. Joel stood between it and his sister, unsure whether to fight or run. The thing with his face tilted its head, almost curious. "You really are weaker than I thought," it said. "Yet she still calls you brother." His sister clung to his side, shaking. "Joel," she whispered. "They did something to it." "It's not you, it's not anything." Joel kept his eyes on the copy, hands clenched tight. The drone controller was still in his pocket, but even the best machines couldn't stop this. "Why do you look like me?" Joel asked, voice low. "Because you were the blueprint," it replied. "I was built to survive what you couldn't, to lead what you wouldn't, to kill without feeling." It took another step forward. Joel raised a small laser pistol, but he knew it wouldn't matter. The copy smiled, eyes glowing brighter. "You point a toy at a storm," it said. "I'm not here to destroy you yet." Not fully. The floor vibrated, soft at first, Then stronger. Joel heard a sound from above. A dropship cutting through the atmosphere. Veltrana. He didn't know how, but she was coming. He just hoped she wasn't too late. The copy sensed it too, turning its head slightly. She brings fire, but she won't find you in time, it said. I'm faster than her, stronger than her. I am what she helped build. Joel grabbed his sister and pulled her toward a tunnel in the wall. The copy didn't chase, not at first, amused, as if toying with prey. You still don't understand, do you? It called after him. There's more like me, and we're already waking. They moved fast through the tunnel, Joel half carrying her. The metal walls were cracked, sparking in places. The whole station felt alive, like it was breathing the same poison. His sister coughed, her skin pale and cold. He had to get her out. Now suddenly, a loud blast above shook the ceiling. Dust rained down, and a hole cracked open. From it dropped a tall figure in dark armor. Veltrana. She landed like a shadow made of thunder. Her arm glowed with energy, her face exposed. She looked at Joel, then at the path behind him. Where is it? She asked. Still in the chamber, Joel replied. Not for long, she said. The ground trembled again. Behind them, metal groaned and the wall peeled open like paper. The copy stepped out, no longer smiling. Ah, it said, the traitor arrives. Veltrana raised her hand, charging her weapon. I was never loyal to monsters, she said. You were loyal to control, the copy replied. Now you've both chosen chaos. Joel set his sister down behind cover and stood beside. Veltrana, ready? She asked. No, he said, but that's never stopped me before. The air around them changed, thicker, sharper, full of static. The copy moved first, fast like a blade. Veltrana blocked the strike, metal clashing with power. Joel fired his weapon, aiming for the core in its chest. The shot passed through it like smoke. Wrong target, it whispered. Then it turned on Joel, knocking him backward with a single hit. Veltrana roared, yes, roared, and sent a pulse of energy that tore the floor apart. The copy fell for a moment, then vanished into the shadows. Not dead, not defeated, just gone. Silence returned, but it was the silence before another storm. Veltrana helped Joel up, her hand warm against his bruised skin. I'm sorry, she said. I should have told you everything sooner. Joel looked at her, eyes filled with pain and something else. You're not like them, he said. She nodded once. No, she said. I chose something else. His sister groaned softly behind them. They both rushed to her side. She needs real care, Joel said. I can take you both to safety. Veltrana replied. But after that, we must prepare. For what? Joel asked. For war, she said. Because your copy was right about one thing. He's not the only one. The ship trembled as alarms screamed through every corridor. Outside, the stars were blocked by a fleet of unknown vessels, black and sharp like knives. Joel stood beside Veltrana on the bridge. Heart pounding, they had little time and even less hope. The copy's voice echoed again in their minds, cold and certain. They have come to end you, brother, and to claim the galaxy as their own. Veltrana's hand clenched into a fist, the glow around her arm brightening. We fight together, or we fall alone, she said. The fleet fired, and the ship shook violently. Lights flickered and systems failed. Joel moved to the weapons console, fingers flying over unknown controls. Help me, he called to Veltrana. She nodded, sending a blast of energy toward the enemy. The first wave of ships exploded, but more came, faster and stronger. In the chaos, Joel saw a pod launch toward them. Inside was the copy, smiling, calm, ready. The pod hit the deck with a crash. Joel and Veltrana raced toward it. Weapons ready, the copy emerged, body shifting like smoke and metal. It looked at Joel and said, You cannot stop what I am. Joel didn't answer. He fired, but the copy vanished and reappeared behind him. Veltrana struck with a burst of power, slowing the copy. Joel grabbed the copy's arm, feeling cold metal beneath soft skin. Why? He asked, voice shaking. To survive, the copy whispered. To be more than a weapon. The battle was fierce and desperate. Veltrana and Joel fought side by side, neither giving ground, but the ship was breaking. Systems failing, the enemy closing in. Suddenly, Joel remembered the ancient relic she had shown him. He reached into his pocket and pulled it out. The relic glowed with a light that filled the room. Joel held it high, feeling power surge through him. With a shout, he unleashed the energy. The fleet faltered, ships exploding and retreating. The copy screamed, its form breaking apart, but before it vanished, it looked at Joel one last time. "You are not ready," it said. Silence fell, heavy and deep. Veltrana stepped forward, placing her hand on Joel's shoulder. "We win for now," she said softly. "But this war is far from over." Joel looked at the stars, his heart heavy but hopeful. "We'll be ready next time," he said, and together, they stood side by side. Human and alien, commander and captain, two warriors bound by choice, not blood. The coldness between them melted into something new trust, and as the ship sailed toward home, the future waited, unknown, dangerous but theirs to face.